League of Legends turns 10, and more coming up on today's episode of the latest in tech news. Hey Gadgeteer, you're just in time for the latest episode of the world's only 3-in-1 show on tech, gadgets, and gaming news. That's right, this is the latest in tech news. My name is Taylor American. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button right now so that you don't miss out on the latest episode. We do this every weekday on daily around here as best as possible, and I try to keep you guys updated as best as I can. It's just running a business on the side that's not TechNewsGadget kind of takes some time away from being able to record the show, so hope you understand. But we are back. We have another episode, but I just want to give my heartfelt thanks to Windows for really trying to make me feel special during the update process today that they so graciously forced upon me. It's almost as if I had no choice but to eat this poison apple. And after my computer decided to restart from all these critically important updates, guess what happened? I go and I open up the program to go and do the show. Where are my audio settings? None of my filters were working. Nothing was working. Everything was messed up. So thank you, Microsoft, for breaking my mods for this. You don't get the reference. I know at least a couple of you will. That was for you. And if you don't understand it, it's a pop culture reference to some YouTube YouTuber. Guy's hilarious. He's a comedian. But anyways, I am going to, in his honor, take out my anger on this junk mailing because I figure it's appropriate. Okay, so now that that's out of the way, and what a wacky start to this show, I do gotta say, but we are planning shows for the rest of the week, so stay with me, please. I'm not crazy. We'll be taking a look at today's feature story. League of Legends celebrates its 10-year anniversary, and if you know me, you know I am a big League of Legends nerd. It's kind of what got me into the whole esports gaming and competitive play, especially. Overwatch did none of that for me. League of Legends is kind of like my football, I don't know, go-to sport of choice, even though I don't play it as much or nearly as often as I'd like to, if at all. That's what I play or enjoy watching. We'll also be taking a look at modern games on CRT monitors look way better than you think. And finally, we'll be taking a look at, well, Drone Pilot races a roller coaster for some pretty awesome action footage. And you might be wondering, well, why are you doing a shorter show? Well, for the time being, I'm going to have to do a shorter show just because my responsibilities and priorities are needed elsewhere. But the show is a priority. Keep that in mind. It's just, for the time being, I'm going to have to do a little bit shorter of a show. So with that being said, before we can get into the show, let's take a look back on today in tech history. All right, today is September 17th, 2019. On this day in 1976, NASA rolls out the first space shuttle, Enterprise, from its assembly facility to a waiting crowd. Included in the crowd was a delegation of actors from the Star Trek TV series. Originally to be named Constitution, a writing campaign by Star Trek fans convinced President Gerald Ford and NASA to rename the space shuttle. The Enterprise was a prototype shuttle designed for the early testing phase of the space shuttle program. It was built without engines or a functional heat shield. While it performed various atmospheric test flights and was originally intended to be retrofitted for spaceflight, it was determined that it would be less expensive to simply build new shuttles. Therefore, the Enterprise never actually did fly into space. And quite I don't know, I'm almost thinking, as nerdy and cool as would have been, maybe it should have just been called Constitution, and then when we actually got... Anyways. Nerds, I guess you won that one. And finally, on this day in 1971, RCA withdraws from the computer market. RCA, for those of you who don't know, was one of the Seven Dwarfs, a group that included Honeywell, Control Data Corporation, Univac, Burroughs, NCR, and General Electric. They had withdrawn from the computer market after losing $490 million. They had tried to compete with IBM in the mainframe computer market but were ultimately unsuccessful. RCA's Spectra 7045 computer was launched as a competitor to the IBM 360, and RCA heavily lauded its reliance on monolithic ICs as opposed to the hybrids 360 SLT modules. Let's just say that the 360 gained a stranglehold in the market and in part led to RCA's and the other seven dwarfs' demise in the mainframe computer market, and IBM came out the victor. With that out of the way, let's head on over to today's feature story. All right, League of Legends. So for those of you interested, yes, we do have article links to everything that we covered today. Head on over to TechNewsGadget.net, and you can peruse the links there at your leisure. Or if you're listening on the podcast app, it's actually right there in app for you to tap away on. I swear there's a bug or something. I don't know. The number of things that could go on today, then my goodness. My mouse is wireless. And it's tiny, what? Anyways, if you had no idea what in the world just happened, it's probably because you're listening to the podcast. We do video, by the way. We'll be getting to that into a little bit. But League celebrates its 10-year anniversary with a new logo and a live celebration. According to records, League of Legends turns 10 in October. The game's official release date was October 27th, 2009. Oh my goodness. Since then, we've seen dozens of champions released, dozens of reworks for Rise, and enough lore to pack an Encyclopedia Britannica. Not even kidding you on that one. But what's ironic is that date corresponds pretty well closely to when I left to go live in Taiwan and teach English for a year, and it was right around that time. League of Legends had only been out for like a year or two when I started playing it. I was introduced to it by my roommate and friend, who was also there, and we were bored trying to figure out something to do, and I don't know, because we didn't have anything else to do, and he didn't want to sit around all day and do nothing. There really was nothing to do. He found a game, and he said, hey, let's go play some League of Legends. It's this new MOBA game. So, to celebrate the success of the game and a big anniversary, Riot will kick off a 10th anniversary celebration on October 15th, featuring live streams, events, and reveals for the game's future. And among the biggest reveals is a refresh to the official League logo. And they just dropped this image today for those of you interested. I love the look. It looks really, really nice. Time for an update, and update well needed. And they did a good job on it. It's a big accomplishment for League to still be popular as it is 10 years in. The game sees a worldwide peak of 8 million concurrent players on a daily basis, which Riot believes put League at the top among PC games. Things aren't perfect, however, which is why on October 15th at 7 p.m. Central Time, Riot will host a 10th anniversary edition of Riot Please, a popular segment in which the company memes itself with responses to common player complaints. In this special edition, the company will share some of its favorite moments, give a sneak peek into the 2020 preseason, and share its ideas on the next big teamfight tactics update. If you're interested, you can catch all of the action and reveals when the celebration kicks off on October 15th, and I guarantee it's going to be on Twitch, it's probably going to be on YouTube, it's probably going to be on Azubu, and it's probably going to be on Mixer as well, so stay tuned for that. Ironically, this ties in perfectly with the World Championships that happen right around that time. So I'm excited. Next month, it's probably all you're going to hear me talk about is League of Legends, because we're leading up to the World Championship. The teams have almost been drawn all at this point for who's going to be competing on the world stage. And in case you're wondering, yes, SKT is back. So, along with a couple other regulars that you know and see, and then a couple interesting wild cards. So we'll see how that all sorts itself out. But if you're excited for League of Legends turning 10, let me know down in the comment section or on Twitter. We are at TechNewsGadget. All right, moving on to some interesting news. Apparently, I'm looking at this right now with surprise on my face, and the text actually reads, modern games on CRT monitors look way better than you think. If you want to see that face, head on over to youtube.com/TechNewsGadget. Yes, this show is available as a video, but I understand most of you listen to this show as a podcast, so do enjoy that. I actually prefer listening to podcasts. Anyways, a new report revealed that running modern games on vintage CRT monitors produces incredible visual fidelity to the point that the CRT monitors are actually upgrades, get this, to LCD monitors, apparently all the way up to current OLED display versions of that type. Gaming monitors are notoriously finicky test subjects that can often lead to subjective discrepancies among people who use them. For instance, fighting game players have maintained that CRT televisions are by far the best choice for certain titles, while competitive Fortnite players experienced the period of time when it was important to use stretched screen resolutions to perform their best, and then before Epic Games banned it. In case you didn't know, well, now you know. Modern technology is naturally almost always an improvement on its predecessors, at least when it comes to pure technological specs and performance. In context, many old gaming peripherals have withstood the test of time, including controllers like the GameCube, which remains a popular addition to Nintendo console owners, even though Switch is the current generation device. With monitors, though, there's really always been a place for CRT tech. CRT doesn't have any upscaling, blur, or native resolution issues, and motion resolution is crisp, while display lag basically is non-existent. This hasn't always equated to belief that they perform better than LCD monitors, though, especially when it comes to modern gaming and obviously the tech that is packed into all of that. A new report from Digital Foundry, however, has conclusively proven that CRT monitors overperform with modern video games, doing better than LCD counterparts many years younger. In a video explaining modern games on CRT monitors as part of a recognition of the growing trend to pick up this technology for nostalgic gamers, the analyst found that the CRT monitors were doing suspiciously well, not because they're renowned to be bad, but more because the common logic here would suggest modern games have moved beyond what the tech is capable of. So, it's not the case, however. Host Rich Ledbetter showcases a Sony CRT monitor, to be fair, one of the best ever made, and it produces some pretty wild results. At the very least, it's worth considering whether or not gamers gave up on CRT technology too soon, given that it was dropped in the early 2000s and has really never been picked back up since then, not to mention who wants to carry around a CRT monitor and have a big back end to it. I mean, the nice, thin monitors that we have right now seem to work just fine, but given the retro aesthetic and surprising performance, it's also worth wondering whether or not companies will see this, maybe try to cash in on the buzz by releasing a cheap modern CRT for fans to try out. And yes, they do have an embedded here video for you to watch for those of you who are interested. Like I said, the show notes are at TechNewsGadget.net. So, what do you think? Is this something made up? Is this real? Is this something you might want to try out? I don't know. Let me know now in the comment section. It is something interesting. I mean, I knew CRT was fine. It's just I didn't like how big and bulky it was. That was my main problem. If you could figure out how to condense that technology into not having it so heavy and bulky, sign me up. I'm not opposed to it, right? And for our final article today, well, did you know that a drone pilot races a roller coaster? Got some pretty awesome action footage to go along with it. This is an article by Digital Trends, and when they heard that a drone pilot had captured some footage of a roller coaster, we assumed they'd be looking at some run-of-the-mill shots from way above the ride. Not really a lot else. What we didn't expect was a stunning spectacle as awesome as it is thrilling, with said drone speeding close to the coaster's car as it hurtles around the track. They do have the video included, but it becomes immediately apparent that this is no ordinary pilot at the controls, but someone akin to a drone racer at the top of their game. Or were they just practicing and showing off? Otherwise, some of these moves would be simply impossible to do. The daredevil flight is the work of crack drone pilot Viggo Ko, who recently visited Leesburg Amusement Park in the Swedish city of Gothenburg to film his impressive feat. It's important to note that Koch worked closely with officials at the amusement park when making this video of the Helix ride, and therefore had the permission first to put his bird in the sky. Indeed, the flight took place before the park opened, minimizing risk to the public should one of his tricky maneuvers go sideways. So, For those of you interested in the details, footage was captured using a GoPro Hero 7 Black action camera attached to his custom-built drone, which also carried a Foxeer Falcor first-person view camera. Now, to see precisely where he was flying the drone, he used a set of Fat Shark HD3 goggles with the Emergent RC rapid-fire 5.8 GHz module and VAS 3-turn helical antennas. While to pilot it, he used an FrSky QX7 controller with a TBS Crossfire Micro TX long-range radio control link. Results are, well, pretty impressive, much like you see in regular drone races. It's kind of nuts. The 2-minute ride hits a top speed of 62 miles per hour, taking riders upside down several times, while it's 4.3 G-force, ensuring a testing time for any stomachs containing a recently consumed meal. Now I'm actually kind of tempted to watch this. Let's see. Oh, is he actually racing a coaster here? Oh, he's not actually in the coaster yet. It's kind of just like an overview shot of the whole thing. And oh, goodness. Yeah, no, this is actually as real as it gets. This isn't fake. Alright. Well, that's that. So, if you're interested in watching the rest of it, like I said, the video is in the article link for today. Show notes are at TechNewsGadget.net. And with that, that wraps up this episode of the latest in tech news. Thanks for tuning in. New episodes every weekday. The latest in tech news can be found on every major platform, including Apple, Spotify, Google, YouTube, Stitcher, Overcast, and more. If you're wondering why I'm like every day, yes, I'm planning on an episode for the rest of the week. Daily. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So we should have enough to cover to make you guys happy and to make me happy, because honestly, I'm not as happy as I could be if I don't do a show, if you see what I mean. Now, if you enjoyed this episode, let us know by clicking that like button and by leaving a comment if you're listening or watching, rather, via YouTube. And if you're listening and tuning in via the podcast, if you could head on over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a review, that would be greatly appreciated. Or you could just leave us a review in the app that you're listening in. Don't forget to share this with a friend and double check that you are subscribed so that you don't miss the next episode. I'm your host, Taylor Merrick, and remember, for the latest in tech, gadget, and gaming news, visit TechNewsGadget.net. Pretty much keep being awesome, guys, and I'll see you on the flip side.